European headquarters. Now, thankfully, Trump seems to have realized the mistakes he's been making and now putting pressure on Putin. We hear all the time about tariffs at the moment, and Trump seems to be focused on that rather than anything else. But one thing Trump did say is that if Putin didn't come to the peace negotiation table, then US or president would prevent Russian oil being sold on the world markets, which he probably can do. And if Russia can't sell its oil and gas, then it won't get its money for weapons, and that could have a really serious impact. So, with Trump putting tariffs on virtually everybody, including penguins in the Antarctic, let's hope that he will put tariffs on Russia, particularly its oil, so that it can't be sold, and Putin will run out of money more quickly than he is at the moment.
From your perspective, would it be enough to force Putin to agree with ceasefire deal? I mean, this secondary tariffs and sanctions, even tariffs against countries which are buying Russian oil?
Well, I don't think on its own it would do that, but it would certainly put more pressure on. And it's clear that there is a lot of pressure sort of coming on to the Kremlin at the moment. Although one must sort of consider that Putin still thinks he's winning. Putin knows that if he loses or doesn't achieve his aims, and his aims were the complete subjugation of the 4 oblasts that Russia controls part of at the moment and Crimea. He also wants to decouple Europe from the US. If he doesn't achieve those, he's failed. And failed Russian dictators don't last very long. And I think Putin is well aware of that. So I think Putin is assuming he might as well fight on, because if he doesn't achieve what he's set out to do, then that's the end of him. Not only as the president, but probably the end of his life, because that's what Russians do to their failed leaders. They get rid of them completely.
And also, whoever Russia has agreed to a partial ceasefire in the air and at sea, don't you think that this is special Russia's negotiating tactics, just to give Donald Trump something to declare any kind of a victory, but not enough to actually end the war? Do you see this as Russia's negotiating tactic?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the 2 ceasefires we've seen before, the 30-day ceasefire, the ink wasn't even dry on the agreement before Russia broke it. The partial ceasefire in the Black Sea really only benefited Russia, and they didn't agree to it. And at the moment, there is supposed to be an agreement that Russia and Ukraine will not attack energy infrastructure, but only overnight, last night, Russia attacked Ukraine infrastructure. So whatever comes out of Putin's mouth and his negotiators at the moment really means virtually nothing, because the Kremlin and Putin are just carrying on fighting and have made absolutely no concessions at all. So, yeah, it's Putin talks positive stuff for the media, but does absolutely nothing in the way of stopping the fighting or moving towards a ceasefire. And hopefully now President Trump is clever enough to realize that, and realize that actually it is Putin who is playing Trump and not the other way around. And hopefully Trump and his advisors learn very quickly and get a bit smarter in their dealings with the Russian president.
It is also interesting that even during negotiations, Vladimir Putin was making hostile statements toward Ukraine. He said that his army would finish off the Ukrainian army, and also he has called up another 160,000 men. This is Russia's highest number of conscripts since 2011. Don't you think that this all developments and statements, this all is just another humiliation for Donald Trump as he tries to negotiate full ceasefire?
Well, absolutely. I mean, all the things you said are not the actions of somebody who's looking for peace. the calling up of 165,000 conscripts is incredible. I personally think actually Putin has made a serious error here, because those conscripts are not going to be from the far east of Russia, the ethnic Russians that Putin has been used so far. They are going to be, the sons of the elites in Moscow and St. Petersburg, and it's going to be very difficult to, dismiss their deaths when it comes. The last time at the beginning of the war, when Putin had a big drive to recruit conscripts, thousands of young Russians fled Russia, and we will probably see the same. Also, as you mentioned, attacks continue. Putin's vowed to destroy the Ukraine military, and he's come up with some ridiculous ideas like the UN should take over control of Ukraine. So I think it is a humiliation to Trump. And I hope Trump, and one of the challenges Trump has is, people like Pete Hegseth and Witkoff and others who are put in important positions are completely inexperienced and untrained for those positions, which is why they're making such terrible errors. Now, there's not much we can do here in the UK or you can do in Ukraine to change, who runs the USA. But let's hope that they are learning quickly, and Trump realizes that actually Putin has no interest in doing some sort of deal with the White House, and the only thing that Putin recognizes is strength, and really that's what the best thing that Trump can do is to show his strong hand, his strong military hand, which is the only way that he can probably drag Putin to a negotiation table for peace and a ceasefire.
You just mentioned that Trump should use his strong military hand to force Putin to negotiating table. How do you see the military options of Donald Trump regarding Vladimir Putin? Because it seems like right now there is only economic discussion in the White House about secondary tariffs, sanctions against the Russian economy, but after the another weeks of stalemate, the discussions could also cover possible military options. How do you see these military options for Donald Trump, or even options for the last resort of Trump? Yeah.
Well, I think it's very important that the White House and Donald Trump address the terrible intelligence issue they had when the signal messaging conversation about attacking the Houthis and supporting Europe was plastered all over the media of the world. The most damaging thing about this intelligence leak is that, in effect, the White House was saying that they would not support Europe in their support of Ukraine. And that was devastating. If Putin thinks that the US will not help Europe out, then Putin might well think he can crack on and keep on fighting. It's only recently that European countries have actually suddenly realized the threat from Putin and have started to extend their military. Even the Germans now are looking to spend 200 billion euros to upgrade their military. But this is all going to take time. But European countries are now galvanized under the UK and France, and are showing a strong hand. But if Trump and the Americans also said that they would be the backstop to support Europe and Ukraine, then I think that would change the metric, change the thinking of Putin. Putin assumes at the moment that America will not get involved in any fight to save Ukraine, because that's what the Americans have said. And I think for Putin, he thinks it's a risk worth taking to keep on fighting if the Americans aren't get involved. So they need, ideally, they need to say, yes, we will get involved to support Europe and Ukraine if needed.
Also, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russia was preparing another offensive operation inside the Sumy region to push forward in the Sumy region, Kharkiv region, and Zaporizhia region. What are Russia's chances for a big breakthrough right now, as Ukraine still sustains